Alright guys, this is a long play review for Bomb Jack on the Amstrad CPC, and it's a conversion by Elite Software. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick look at the arcade original, because this is a conversion and we like to do like a little short comparison to get the feel of how it compares. And yes, this was released in the arcades in 1984 by Tehkan, who later became known as Tecmo, and it was extremely popular at the time and really stood out at the time in the arcades, as you can see here from like the arcade cabinet in all its glory. And it was a very simple and fun little game, and yeah, we control Jack, who's a little superhero collecting bombs on a single screen, and it's extremely colourful and lots of nice fun little music as well. And here's the first stage. Pay attention to how the sprites look, the backgrounds, the layout, and how Jack moves about the screen. And as you see, we're collecting bombs there, and we're trying to collect them in the order that they're flashing and lit. Collect a P, that's a power up. B for bonus, increases the score multiplier, and obviously P turns all the creatures into coins that you can collect, and you can clear the screen. And you get a special bonus for collecting all the bombs in order, and they're always lit in a certain special order as well, so remember that. So there we go, that's the arcade version. Now onto the Elite conversion to the Amstrad, and there's the original box art. Nice drawing, but not very well advertised as such. You perhaps want to be promoting it as like a huge arcade conversion, very popular, as they sort of did on the back of the re-release they did years later on the Encore budget label. But let's get this started up. Here's the loading screen. It's pretty nice. And here's the title screen. Very colourful. There's an option there for keyboard and keyboard turbo. What keyboard turbo means is basically the turbo jump, when you do fire and up at the same time to jump right to the top of the screen, is always on. I'm not going to use that option. I like to be able to control it myself, but it's useful if you're sort of struggling with the game. And here's the first level, so I'll just talk through this level first of all. And so, as you can see, we've got very colourful graphics. Sprites move about really fastly and fluidly. Very clear where the sparkling bombs are and enemies are. And some really good sound effects as well. No music in game. Ah yes, there's the flashing P power up, and we can collect all those enemies. Let's head into coins. The only thing is that annoys me is the Jack sprite. He doesn't quite look like Bomb Jack from the arcade. I think it's because he's got black horns and sort of a white blob for a face, and loses some of its comic style appeal actually. It looks a bit more serious in this version. Otherwise, he's not bad. He's nicely defined, as are the other sprites. They're nice and small actually, and it gives you enough breathing room in the playing area, because it is a single screen game and things can get quite tight and cramped. And we'll come on to that on the other versions, the other 8-bit versions, in a minute, because some of them really suffer from a cramped screen and larger sprites, which is a problem. But otherwise, so far this is really good stuff. On this long play, there isn't an ending to the game really. It just loops around forever. But there's about sort of 12 levels in total in kind of the layout of like the platforms and bombs. And then it starts repeating it around with different sort of backgrounds. So what we'll do is we're going to get up to level 12 and do a little bit of level 13. Have a bit of a muck around on level 13. And that's where we'll end things, and I'll prove to you that it sort of repeats around with a couple of screenshots. And I'm going to try and do this as perfectly as possible by collecting all the bombs in the right order. Try and get the bonuses where I can to get a good score. Yeah, I still haven't quite worked out how to trigger the bonus multiplier, these special bees up here. Sometimes I found if you hang around long enough they start to appear. Because it's really, if there isn't an ending to the game, then obviously it's more of a score attack game to try and get the highest score possible. And you only start with 2 lives. So yeah, that's the goal of this long play. I just want to apologise quickly to fellow YouTubers Cholo and Metr, who have already done long play videos of Bombjack on the Amstrad CPC. This is one of my favourite games of all time, so I held off for as long as possible, really, until last month's Retro Game, or was it current month's? I can't remember now, has a sort of special on Bombjack, actually. I think Bombjack the Complete Guide, I think it was. And he does mention the other conversions, and mentions the Amstrad version especially as being probably, arguably, the best 8-bit conversion of the game. And, well, I'm going to agree with that because I'm a huge Amstrad fan, but I honestly do believe that, and I'll come on to that for several reasons in a minute. No, I think I'll talk about it now, actually. If you look at the other versions, Spectrum version is really excellent. Not completely monochrome. They've used a bit of colour here and there to good effect, but at times it's hard to see some enemies and sprites against the backgrounds. But plays fairly similarly to the Amstrad version, actually, and it's a very, very excellent conversion. Commodore 64 version looks quite nice, although the sprites are a lot bigger and chunkier. They're more expressive and more cartoonish, I suppose. Again, it has the problem of Jack having sort of like black horns and stuff, but the sprites are far too big and the playing area too small. Everything's too squashed and cramped. However, it does have some excellent incidental music, of which both the Amstrad and Spectrum version lacks. The MSX version is pretty dreadful, as is the Sega's SG-1000 console. The Game Boy, which is technically 8-bit, had a really, really excellent conversion, but really, really late on in 1992. Remember, this was released in 1986. On the Atari XL XE version, it's pretty much identical to the Commodore 64, apart from a few things changed here and there. But overall, I do think the Amstrad version's arguably the best home computer version on the 8-bit systems. I think that might be a bit controversial to some people, but I think it handles and controls absolutely perfectly. I find it hard to differentiate any problems with the control and movement and smoothness of the Jack compared to the arcade original. I think they've got the size of the graphics and layouts and platform sizes and stuff absolutely spot on, and you can do some really, really tricky, intricate moves, just like in the arcade, like zipping past zipping in between like 2 enemy sprites with like a pixel, dividing you or something, and still get through fine. So the collision detection is like really spot on. It's a shame it's missing sort of incidental music and things, but the sound effects is, I think, is the best of the 8-bit home computer versions as well, actually. Far and away, actually, if I'm honest. And overall, this is absolutely cracking conversion. I'd like to have some kind of ending and perhaps a few more, I don't know, layouts for levels. But overall, guys, I'm going to give this a review score now. I'm going to give this a whopping... Ooh, I'm close to giving it a 9.5 out of 10. I'll give it a 9.25. But yeah, just a few gameplay things to mention, of course. There's lots of things you can do with Jack. By repeatedly pressing the fire button when he's like flying, you can sort of hover in the air and like control the rate of your descent. And the controls for this need to be absolutely spot on, and the Amstrad version excels with that, which is excellent. Fire and up to go right to the top of the screen. Do like that's a turbo jump right there, and we can then gracefully float down. There we go. 23 sparkling bombs is the target there to get if you get all of them. And they always go in a certain order, so you may get familiar with some levels and work out which bomb to take first. Actually on level 11 here, the penultimate level technically really, it forces you to take the first bomb, and this is a really tricky one to get through. You can easily get caught here. So you need to be really spot on. It's great fun, this game. It's really challenging, and if you do screw up, you don't really feel that much that it's unfairly so. And they can gang up on you, but you can, if you sort of plan your moves ahead, there's no reason why you can't complete the level every time. So it's kind of your own fault. Gets frustrating sometimes, believe me, but you never feel it's the fault of the game. Same with the arcade original. There's a guy doing a long play of the arcade original actually on the CubeX channel, and he is just insanely good at this game. Really insane moves he does in that. But there we go. This is pretty much. This is level 12. So essentially, this is like the last level, or at least before the layouts start repeating themselves. Obviously, we've seen the backgrounds a few times. The backgrounds are not as nicely drawn, but other than that, really well presented, as you can see there. Nice flashing colours. So this is level 13. Look at the layout there, and this is the layout of level 1. So basically, this is the point of where it starts repeating itself. Well, there we go. What else to mention just very quickly? To see if the programmers are for the Amstrad version. The CPC Power website has the programmers listed as Andy Williams and Paul Holmes. I think Andy Williams went on to do Bombjack 2 sequel. It was an unofficial sequel. Well, they got the license to do the sequel on the home computer, but it was never released in the arcade. It wasn't a version of Bombjack 2 from the arcades. That doesn't exist. There were arcade sequels. I think it was called Bombjack Twin, released in about 1993. But Andy Williams, he went on to do Bombjack 2, as I mentioned. We might look at that next, but it isn't really much of a real Bombjack game because you're restricted to which platforms, and you just jump between them, and you're not collecting bombs either. So they should really call it Bombjack, or Bombjack 2. But it was pretty good fun. Oh, here we are. I'm just messing about here, just trying to show you how fast the enemies go as you take your time, because the bombs never explode. I was going to mention that earlier. The bombs don't explode, but the enemies just get faster and faster, and I think in the coin op UFOs start appearing. So there we go. Might look at Bombjack 2 soon, but thanks for watching guys. 9 1/4 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.